Me and my friend Yoga always talks about, certain topics within the video game community, and we stumble on times that, we talk, and sometimes we talk about, the attitude of a certain gamer, especially nowadays. With regards to that, people have been bragging, this modern day era. They say that, oh, I finished this game, this X game, it's ridiculously difficult, therefore I'm hardcore. That's our topic that we kind of like went through for the past 2 days, and people are just like saying that, oh, I'm more hardcore than you because I finished this really absurd difficult game. I just have to just me personally, I just want to clear the air. you know Finishing an extremely ridiculously difficult game does not make you a hardcore, for that matter. Sure, you dedicated your time, you dedicated your skills, you dedicated everything in order for you to finish that game. But the game itself isn't hardcore. You might be a hardcore, or you might be hardcore because you were passionate about it. But the game itself, I'm going to cite one of the probably the one of the worst examples of a RPG that I played in my entire gaming life. If you haven't heard of Beyond the Beyond, well, you're missing what I call my nightmare, and also my friend's nightmare, Milker's nightmare. That is, for him, it's like the proverbial Auschwitz, incoming hate like that, Auschwitz concentration camp, where you became a survivor. You don't want to talk about it. Why? To make a long story short, Beyond the Beyond is the first RPG for the PSX, PS1, if you may. And this is one of these games that the random encounter rate is just ridiculous. And I say this with empathy. It's ridiculous that this game have have mind-boggling, really irritating, and really annoying random encounter rate. I say that because I played some games on the Tale series, not the modern, just the older installments of the game, and compare that. I am irritated by the random encounter rate of Tales of the games that I played are the Tale series, and I'm going to tell you, it's ridiculous, but nothing compares to Beyond the Beyond. Sure that I finished the game like once or twice, but that doesn't mean that I'm hardcore than the rest. It doesn't, it doesn't, it really isn't worth bragging, especially when you're talking about a game that, the story is decent, well, it's forgiving because it's the early years, the infancy of the PSX and new console, but to eat, in order for me to finish it, it's like, it's not a sign of relief. It's just the monkeys on my back just went off. But I'm not a hardcore. I'm going to admit it. I bragged about it years ago. But you know, thinking about it now, and the latter years, um, it isn't really worth bragging. The game might be extremely ridiculous, and you say that you survived that. Yeah, sure, you survived it because you were being determined. You're being determined. You are being courageous. You want to finish the game. After all, gamers gamers for the most part plays to win. Gamers for the most part don't want other stones left to be unturned. And to say the least, that the game, the certain game that you play because you're hardcore, you finish that. Therefore, it's a game for the hardcore gamers. Now, well, you have to consider that. because there, I played games that are really challenging, extremely difficult, if you may. One of the games that is really hard, one of the games that is really difficult and yet challenging, very rewarding. You know, the gameplay is fair despite being difficult. Will be um, Figure Story. That game is ridiculous. I'm going to tell you, it's one of those games that I really love to play over and over. It's just that you are there as a survivor. You're there to survive. You're there to collect your own items. You're there to craft your own weapons, and you have no place to run unless you know the enemies that drop these kinds of items. You're not going to be able to survive. That's one of the good examples on how a game, despite being extremely difficult, at the same time being extremely fair, and it gives a certain gamer, the money what its money's worth. And does that make the person who plays it hardcore? No. Does that make the game hardcore? Well, what will be your definition of hardcore anyway? Just asking. I'm not. I used to be, prejudgmental person before. Oh, you haven't played this game. You're not hardcore. I'm like that before. I'm going to admit it. But things change. You get mature, and you grow up. That's what I've learned. And playing these games, oh yes, you might say that you finished Jekyll and Hyde, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for the NES as introduced by the Angry Video Game Nerd. You finished that. Good for you. You are hardcore. But does it mean that the game, despite being ridiculously hard, despite being so unfair, that the game is hardcore? It's complete you know it's like the multiverse where the game that I like call Fragrant Story is in universe type 1 universe, and your game that you talk about being so hardcore will be the type 5 universe. Type 5 or type 4? I forgot the string theory lessons. God damn it. Anyway, I'm Homer, and you know what? This is my breakfast. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. I have tons of things to do, so it's a good thing that we have pizza. See you later.